Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamingTech.com video we have further information on the PlayStation 4, and it has been 100% confirmed that the PS4 does not require an internet connection to play games. Although it was pretty much a certainty the PlayStation 4 didn't require an internet connection anyway, and indeed it had been said that you can indeed play offline totally, but you may want to keep it connected. Now obviously that was down to some interpretation of just what type of services and level of play that you could actually have offline. However, now Shuhei Yoshida has gone on record and said that no, this isn't the case. You can actually play completely and utterly offline, and I'll read you the quote. The main reason being that many countries don't have a robust internet connections. It makes sense for people to have internet connections to play online games, but for offline games, there are many countries that we saw do not really have a robust internet. There are a couple of things to take away from this. This is off quote. The first is that this is obviously taking a major advantage of the rather, let's go with ambiguous situation right now Microsoft are leaving gamers in. In other words, there's a couple of weeks before the announcement of the Durango, and currently we're not really 100% sure exactly what the situation is. I have done a video, as you guys probably are aware, that there is apparently an internal memo that's been leaked, or whatever you want to say, that's been basically stating that the system doesn't require an internet connection. But still, that doesn't categorically rule it out, and I think Sony really want to jump on this. Now, the second thing this demonstrates even further is just how careful you must be with verbiage. You guys remember the whole Twitter incident with the Xbox, and you have to be so careful with how you word things right now, because things can be so easily taken out of context. Or more to the point, you have to be 100% concise of what you're saying, especially when you're a big company like Sony. Even if you live in an area in, say, the UK or the United States or Canada or Australia or whatever, there are certain areas that you just have crappy internet. More to the point, even in the UK, your internet goes down. I mean, I'm pretty sure it must be the same in the United States and various other countries as well. There is no such thing as a 100% stable internet connection. I don't care how much you're paying. I mean, I've got 120 megabyte per second connection, and apparently that's going to be going up to 200 at some point later on sometime this year / next year. But honestly speaking, that doesn't do me any good if it falls over. In other words, you know, if their servers go down, if their DNS servers die, or whatever. Now, obviously, there are ways around all of that. You know, for example, you could use, say, OpenDNS if your ISP goes down and so forth. But reality of the matter is, you could have a storm. It could flood out their local, their local station. That's it. It could just be that they accidentally are doing roadworks outside your house and, you know, they cut the cable for all you know. In other words, there's no such thing as a 100% guarantee. Sony, of course, are also pointing out that some countries are less than stable in terms of their internet connection, mostly emerging markets and so on. But in reality, of course, there are quite a lot of rural areas, and the rural areas, ironically enough, are one of the reasons that this whole Twitter war, if you will, between Microsoft's ex-employee, I just want to emphasize that, Adam Orff. Now, of course, he left certain comments on Twitter. These aren't exactly verbatim. I'm not going to bother to Google it to tell you guys exactly what it was 100%, but it was pretty much deal with it. Was one of the words, you know, let's deal with the fact that it could be always online. Why would you not want to live in the city was another. And obviously, that didn't really go down well. People were, well, upset and pissed, actually, with this whole statement. And let's face it, you don't want to offend your customer base, because it doesn't really go well for your system. If you manage to piss off 10% of the customers before you even, you know, bloody well sell the system, it's not really going to go well, is it? You've already upset, like, you know, 10% of the potential people. And I'd choose 10% as an arbitrary figure, of course. The point being that Sony are very smart right now. I think that they're not doing anything particularly astounding by saying this. I think my channel has gone on record many times and said that I don't think the PS4 was going to be it, and then when, of course, I confirmed it, semi-confirmed it, I had basically taken that as a gospel that yes, actually, they're not going to be using an always-on connection. However, it is good to hear it once again repeated, and I think that's one of the things that Sony are really doing well this time. They're doing extremely well in this whole marketing thing, and to be honest with you, right now they're able to batter Microsoft over the head, because quite simply put, Microsoft can't really retaliate, because obviously they need to save it all for the reveal. However, remember that the reveal is going to quickly sway gamers' opinions. In other words, if Microsoft come out with an absolutely astounding platform and it doesn't, for example, require always online, just for example, and you know, it has Blu-ray and everything else, people are going to quickly forget about all these rumors and they're just going to chalk it up. And it's actually quite smart, because if you think about it, Sony have actually gone on record and they've said that they've never even considered the prospect of an always online system. Microsoft right now don't have to admit that they considered it, although from the plans it looks like they have, and then maybe it's possible that they somewhat toned them down. Obviously, always on DRM, and this is basically always on DRM when you think about it, you need a connection. It is effectively one of the big topics right now. When you think about it, look at the heat that SimCity came up with. SimCity was really chastised, but to be honest with you, it's a bit unfair, because when you think about it, although obviously I'm not really happy that they got so much heat, there were so many other games like Diablo 3. You know, why did these guys get all the heat? Or even StarCraft, when you think about it. Blizzard are really, you know, kind of guilty of this as well. And okay, it might somewhat cut down piracy, one could argue, but does it really? Obviously, in the case of, say, Diablo, I don't think it's really pirated. To be honest, I don't really do the whole piracy scene anyway, but I know StarCraft was pirated. I don't really know the point. I don't know if you can play online, and I imagine that's the primary reason to play StarCraft. I don't really think many people are going to just play it for the single player. But honestly speaking, if you think about it, a game like World of Warcraft, okay, I can understand you need an internet connection, and so on. But other titles like, say, SimCity, I might not want to interact. I might not give a toss about, you know, what Jimmy down the road is doing with his city. I have no intention of ever interacting with Jimmy. The reason I'm playing this game is because I want to get lost and build my own, you know, metropolis, not, well, care what Jim is doing with his metropolis, in to point a phrase. But I think Sony are doing really well here to announce this, and I don't mean this in a Sony's system is much better than Microsoft, or Sony are going to beat Microsoft in the war, and I always use massive quotation signs when I say war, because it's consoles at the end of the day, and I've always said that whatever winner there is, I never like there to be a decisive winner in consoles, because it's never good for the consumer. But I do believe that Sony are doing really well on kind of dampening the hype of Microsoft conference before it happens, and they're sniping slowly. I also think it's not going to be too much of a big surprise if Sony reveal the looks of the aesthetics of the PlayStation 4, most likely at either E3 or another conference that maybe Microsoft are going to attend to. Anyway, that's just my own thoughts and opinions, as well as the news, of course, so hopefully you've enjoyed them, at least somewhat, and I will hopefully see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.